Hello, how you guys doing? James here in another video on this time. Hope you have it's kind of rainy where I'm at. But anyhow, this one's going to. I made this video about, and it's a perfect analogy on racism. I'm gonna play a few minutes of the video. Um, I just hope they don't mind. And it's another view of racism from this other guy. And I thought this would be a good combination to put together. Okay.
Of liberty and justice for all yet haunted by laws that often fail to deliver that promise equally. The United States is known as a land of freedom, but beneath its noble ideals lies a history written not just by lawmakers and judges, but by the silent suffering of those the law was never meant to protect. Welcome to today's story, a deep dive into the racist origins of US law. In this video, we will uncover how the very system designed to ensure justice has, for centuries, been used as a tool to justify inequality. From the earliest colonial charters to modern sentencing policies, America's legal foundation has been shaped by decisions that determined who deserves protection and who does not. Think about it. Every nation claims its laws are fair, that they uphold peace and order. But what happens when the law itself becomes the instrument of division? When the courtroom, instead of being a sanctuary of fairness, reflects the same prejudices found in the streets? This is not just a question of history, it is a mirror held up to our present. In colonial America, laws were written to classify entire groups of people as property. Centuries later, the same legal machinery reappeared under new name segregation, separate but equal.
A peace plan for Gaza. For the plan to advance, Hamas must disarm.
This got to give you a good idea of what racism really is about. Um, but this one guy, he breaks the analogy down. Hopefully I can find this video.
Racism goes on all over the world. You've probably been affected by it in ways you know and in ways that you don't. I say that because racism is more than just hatred for a racial group. It's a full-on system that shapes who gets seen, heard, hired, respected, loved, housed, protected, and believed. Today we're unpacking its psychology, its history, and what to do about it personally, and what we can all do about it collectively. We'll dive into key historical flashpoints, how systems keep up racial bias, and of course how human nature ties into racism in and of itself. This is the first of a three-part series on the psychology of racism. The psychology of racism. This video is going to be so deep. You're going to learn a lot of things related to the phenomenon of racism. We throw the word around a lot of times, and sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't know the other words surrounding racism that are related. We end up kind of painting with a broad brush of what a given situation is when there's actually more at play. Before I even get into this video, I want to, kind of give a fair warning that I'm going to talk about some heavy topics in this video, maybe some emotionally triggering topics. There might be moments in this video that trigger you. There may be moments in this video that you're cheering on and you're like, wow, that's exactly what I've been thinking all these years. I'm just going to attack this topic in so many different angles. We're going to learn about things like the history of racism, what racism is, what are adjacent things to racism like xenophobia, what does it mean to be prejudiced, what is systematic racism, where are the common experiences of people in different races, and is race even a thing? Can minority groups be racist? All of these important questions, that we're going to cover. There's just going to be so many things that could be very perspective changing for you, especially if you're someone that has struggled with dealing with racism in your life, right? If you're part of a minority group and you've been discriminated against, you've been bullied, you've been attacked, you've been, done wrong just based on the color of your skin or your accent or whatever. Also, if you find yourself being racist racist, which I've had people comment on my video saying like, Jem, thank you for your video. You've helped me stop being racist on a video that had nothing to do with racism. This video is also for you, right? It's gonna be relevant to a lot of people. First, let's just talk about what race is. Race is a socially constructed category that groups people by perceived physical traits, skin tone, features, etc. Not a biological reality in any essential sense. So we basically look at each other and we see differences. We see the differences that we hold because, we had slightly different evolutions. Some of us have more melanin in our skin, so we have darker skin in order to protect against the sun. And with these differences, people categorize themselves, they categorize others in order to create the in-group and out-group dynamic. But this is all a construct, it's not actually real. The human race is the thing because there's a lot of distinct commonalities between us compared to if we were compared a human to a rabbit. The human race is more of a race than black, white, Asian, Indian, Native American, so on and so forth. But because we have agreement upon race being real, we group ourselves by races, and thus racism comes about, which I'm going to talk about next. So just to reiterate, because there's collective agreement that race is real, then people act that out, and thus racism exists. Now, what is...
Find the right care team, maintain a positive mindset, advocate for yourself, and ask your doctor.
I hate that. Sorry about that.
What is racism? Racism is a process by which systems, policies, actions, and attitudes create inequitable opportunities and outcomes for people based on race. Racism is more than just prejudice in thought or action. It occurs when this prejudice, whether individual or institutional, is accompanied by the power to discriminate against, oppress, or limit the rights of others. Exactly. So we may hear someone say something racist and we're like, that's racist. It can be racist, but racism is more than just what somebody says to somebody else. It's also the systems that are in play to prevent a given group from advancing. Oftentimes people of color are discriminated against. This discrimination is indirect as well. And this is what's meant by systemic or structural racism. Meaning black schools in predominantly black neighborhoods, we might notice that they get less funding. We might notice that there's less, high quality guidance counselors at those schools. There's less after school programs because there is just fundamentally less funding given to those schools compared to more predominantly white schools or just more affluent areas. Racism includes all the laws, policies, ideologies, and barriers that prevent people from experiencing justice, dignity, and equity because of their racial identity. It can come in the form of harassment, abuse, or humiliation, violence, or intimidating behavior. However, racism also exists in systems and institutions that operate in ways that lead to inequity and injustice. People commonly think of racism in terms of overt individual actions and ideologies, the social psychological understanding, but it also exists within systems, organizations, and cultures. Now that begs the question, why are people racist? Why do we see racism being prevalent? Is it as much as it was, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago? Probably not. But it definitely it definitely still happens. And again, remember, this isn't just the direct forms of racism you see and hear. This is the indirect, under the radar forms of racism that comes about. Why people may be racist. So firstly, it's feeling superior. You have to understand that there are a lot of low self-esteem people in this world. And when they feel threatened or they feel super insecure, which in a lot of cases it's a thing they feel often, they have to resort to some sort of way to mask that pain or mask that discomfort as an ego defense mechanism. So what they're going to do is they're going to say statements or think in ways in order to feel better than somebody. And this is an important strategy for them because they also need someone to blame for their life not being how they want it to be. So the racist individual may blame Latinos, blacks, Asians, whoever, in order to avoid responsibility and tend to feel better, right? Because to them, they feel insecure, whether it's about, you could say, finances, their living situation, their country, maybe they're very patriotic and they feel like their country is just becoming too much of a melting pot, and they just hold these very much stern, conservative values of keeping things how they've always been. So that's the insecurity, and that insecurity breeds a sense of unease. So the ease is in saying, I am better than these people. These people are also to blame for me not achieving. They're to blame for me not being hired at this job. They're to blame for me not having a good time while I'm out, so on and so forth. So feeling superior, avoiding responsibility / scapegoating. Another one is staying the same / staying ignorant. When people are racist, they don't have to think about the systems at play in the world. They don't have to think about the privileges they hold. They don't have to think about the damage they spread. By holding on to a strong ideology that their own race is the one true race, or that other races are terrible or whatever, they give themselves leeway to stay in that superior headspace and also spread chaos. Because if they view these other people as just like them, like they're human just like me, then in their mind they would be attacking someone just like them. They would be attacking someone in their tribe. It's no longer me, us versus them. It's now I'm attacking my own tribe. And that could be a lot of, cognitive dissonance. So people stay racist and very ignorant in order to avoid the uncomfortable truths of what's going on in the world. The uncomfortable truths of, hey, people of Middle Eastern descent deal with Islamophobia. People of Latin descent deal with xenophobia around immigration often. Black people often face discrimination and assigned labels like ghetto, etc., just by appearing or just by speaking. Not to also mention the in-between things, the more intersectional struggles people face, like disability, like being gay or trans, or like having very difficult mental disorders that causes them to not function the best in society, like schizophrenia, for instance. So the individual that is racist can turn a blind eye to all of these things and meet their survival needs how they see fit, no matter what chaos they spread, right? So they may spew racist ideology because it serves their survival strategy, as they also ignore the chaos they're spreading, and they don't have to feel bad about it. Now let's define some important adjacent words to racism that you should know about. First, of course, let's start with prejudice. Prejudice is typically a negative preconception or attitude towards members of a group based on shared characteristics such as race, ethnicity, sex, sexuality, age, religion, language, class, or culture. Prejudice can be racial, but it can also be sexist, ageist, or classist, for example. Absolutely. So I'm going to say both positive and negative prejudice statements. So a positive prejudice statement is all black people are good at rapping. So that's like a positive one. And then a negative one may be all black people are rude, for example. That would fall under being a racist statement. It's not expressing racism on a systemic level. It's expressing racism in a more social level, right? But it's still racism via prejudice. Next one, discrimination. Actions or policies that treat people differently based on group membership. Job hiring, police profiling, etc., etc. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you've maybe have faced instances of being discriminated against, and it's not fun to deal with. It's extremely unfair. It sometimes makes you want to get back at people, for doing that. But you have to understand that racial discrimination is just the end result of years of humans believing in the idea that race is a thing. And then when they believe that, racism becomes a thing. A few years ago.
Sorry. I stopped that. I was trying to. Sorry.
This was like, I'd say 9 years ago. I was in college and I was at listening to music, just walking, and I'm on the sidewalk, and the other side of like the road that's next to me is going, this direction, like forward. I should go like this, forward. The cars are going forward, and then on the other side, obviously the cars are going this way, right? Typical traffic pattern. So I see a cop driving this way, and I can tell he sees me. And what he does is he makes a turn towards a parking lot that I'm about to walk past. He goes there, and he just parks facing his car towards me. He just sits there, staring at me walking. And then I could literally, it's almost like I could feel his eyes on me. And it was like one of those clear examples of like this police profiling. And I don't say it in a way that it's like the biggest police profiling ever, because it wasn't, right? I've read plenty of stories of police profiling people, and it makes mine look like nothing. But nevertheless, it was still police profiling. This guy wasn't just there sitting enjoying a donut. No. After I walked past that parking lot upward, he drives out of the parking lot, kind of stalls, and then he drives off to the direction he was already heading towards. Immediately after I walked past, it was too sketchy to be a coincidence. This is what we're talking about here. I'm sure you maybe have examples from your own life. Xenophobia, fear, hostility toward foreigners or perceived outsiders, often overlaps with racism. So often you see xenophobia with people that have a lot of pride in the area they live in or the country they're in, and they want to, whether consciously or subconsciously, maintain some sort of normalcy in that area, whether it's the culture, whether it's the tradition, what the area is known for, whatever. And they have this strong fear of people, you could say, corrupting where they're at, their culture, their land. And it's funny because in America, you see instances of this happening, of people being worried about people moving in. But how was America even found? How was it founded? It was founded by Europeans that came in, befriended Native Americans, slaughtered them, betrayed them, stole their land, killed all their food supply, took over everything, and then called it something new. And what happened was that settlers created this ideology of manifest destiny. It's our destiny to expand west. It's our destiny. It's the destiny of the white race to expand west. It was basically ordained by God. Like God put this forth. This is what's supposed to happen. And these are the types of ideologies racist people think of in order to protect their actions. You have to understand this about humans. We don't like cognitive dissonance. We don't like looking like the bad person. So what we do is we spin narratives, whether we use religion, whether we use politics, whether we use storytelling, whether...
Let me stop right here. In my previous video, you see two men in the last video I made. This covers because one of them claims to be a pastor and what he think about black people. So this is what he's covering. This is basically what he's saying. In the last video, if you go back and the last video about black whiteism, about all these other cultures come with that, is on that video. But I want to shout out to the channel. I want to show you from what they said they sell.
Let's talk about timeshare maintenance fees. Timeshares love them because they increase like clockwork.
Now this person gonna tell you, confirm what he was saying. Shout out to Redirect.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. I have some clips that I'm going to be sharing with you all. Some very disturbing clips, but they are telling the truth. The truth is what it is. And I think too many times our people want to run from the truth, and you have other people who want to hide the truth, because the truth is just too hard to deal with. It's too hard to deal with, but I think it needs to be known. It needs to be understood, because when you don't know and understand what has happened in the past, you can most certainly find yourself a victim of some of those things, right? Of course, we know all of this stuff was prophesied. I continue to tell you all this and show you all this in Scripture. Through the Whited Out series, we did a very extensive revelation or revealing of things that took place in the past and why certain things are happening today. It's important that we look at this stuff. Ignoring it will not make it go away. Okay? Ignoring it will cause our people to be on television, on the news, saying, I don't understand why this is still happening in 20 such and such and such and such, right? We've been saying this since it turned 2000, 2001, 2002, 2010, 2015. Now we're about to head into 2023, and we're still talking about we don't understand why this stuff is still happening. And this is why I continue to shed light on it. And this is why we put together the Whited Out documentary series, so we can know what has taken place on this planet and in this world, right? I'm going to be sharing with you all some videos. They are confessions where white people are telling the truth and talking about what their ancestors did to so-called black people. They're giving you their very own lesson in critical race theory. Okay, it's coming from white people, not us, right? Although we have a right to tell our story, sometimes it's important that we see their testimonies of this as well, because they are acknowledging that they know. And so anyone alive today claiming that they don't know what's happening, they're just lying to themselves, and they're lying to everyone else. They know exactly what's happening. They know that things are not fair, and they know that this country has a terrible history of treatment towards so-called black people. But yet still we don't see any policies on the book that deal with anti-black anything, right? So anyway, take a listen at these testimonies, and I will be right back.
When I tell you it was heinous, I'm going to have to be careful how I word this so that I don't get in trouble, but I think it needs to be said because I am sick and tired of hearing people say that people of color just need to get over it already because it was so long ago. No, it wasn't. My father remembers his father raising hunting dogs that he would rent out on the weekend for hunting parties, only these weren't regular hunting parties. These big bubbas would set up these almost lemonade type stands during the week and sell these little cards for like, I don't know, a nickel, 25 cents. They were person of color hunting licenses. And everyone who bought one during the week, they would gather together on the weekend with all their trucks, and they would round up as many people of color in the surrounding areas as they could find, turn them loose in the woods, and set the dogs after them. There are people alive today whose family were hunted down in the woods by dogs, and they raised their children to have a well-earned distrust of white people and of police officers, because I guarantee you any of the police officers that weren't wearing the hoods were turning a blind eye. This town, Vidor, Texas, at one time I believe was known as the most racist city in the United States. It was a sundown town. They had a billboard that said, person of color, don't let the sun set on your and anyone who was not white knew you don't drive through Vidor after dark. Even truckers would avoid that route if they weren't 100% certain that they could make it through before sundown, because God forbid they had a blowout or some sort of mechanical trouble in Vidor, Texas after dark, because they had citizens and police officers patrolling looking for them. If you were in Vidor, Texas after dark and you were not white, you probably wouldn't be seen again, or at least you wouldn't be seen in one piece. It's hard for me to talk about. The library sold t-shirts with rifles across it that said, people of color, we're ready for you. The Klan marched down Main Street openly and with full support of the municipalities and the people until 1985. 1985.
For you uncontrolled nasal polyp sufferers, Dupixent is an add-on treatment that invites you to go be.
So that lady confirmed what this man's been saying. And it's just that some people, but you won't believe it, that there's some people like that. But there are people who are that prejudiced, still that and it's like, what did they do to hate so much? And he basically answered your question. It's envious, jealousy, and hatred. Imagine having all that in your spirit and you leave this planet and never repent of that. Imagine how so many people are going to die. But anyway.
I like learning about history and in different cultures, and I learned something about white people. I learned that we invented credit, like taking credit for things that like maybe you shouldn't have. And this is how it started. I think like one day we saw another race with some really cool invention, and we got a little nosy, and we were like, "Hey, who invented this thing?" And they were just like, "Well, it doesn't matter who made it. What matters is we can all use it and appreciate it." And we were like, "Oh. Well, if it doesn't matter who made it, let's just say white people made it." White man on the bottom of this. And we've used this logic for many inventions in history, like, I don't know, like rock and roll, Jesus, you name it. And that logic is kind of how white people got to this country. Like one day we were like, "Hey, Indians," and they were like, "Who's that?" We're like, "It's you guys." Hey, Indians, whose land is this? And they were like, "What? Nobody owns this land." And we were like, "Oh. Well, if nobody owns this land, let's just say white people own this land. As a matter of fact, you need to get off my land."
See these white people, you see them on this skateboard? You know, we invented that. You didn't invent a damn thing. We had skates. And when our skate would break down, we would get a 2x4 and take our skate and nail it to the board, and you saw it and develop a skateboard, and you made money, and we still poor.
Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. You got to be here for this one, because they stealing again. They out here stealing again. These folk out here stealing again, and they getting called out. And I'm jumping in because y'all ain't finna be stealing our stuff and think ain't nothing gonna happen. So that's what we getting into today. Brianna Nicole, we got your back, young lady. These colonizers out here colonizing everything. They colonizing hair clips, hair clamps. How you colonize a hair clamp? That's what they do. They colonize everything and then play victim. That's the thing. That's what really got me pissed about this situation here. Steal the young lady's creation and then play victim and then sue her. The caucasity to steal a young lady's invention and then sue her for harassment because the internet on her ass. So guess what? The internet finna be on her ass some more. Now, I don't really know the white young lady's name, and we'll find out when we get into the next video. But Brianna Nicole is the creator of the Click. It's the Click hair clamp. It's the world's first magnetic hair. It's the world's first magnetic claw clamp. And so we're gonna learn about the hair clique. Yeah, the hair clique, that's the name of it. So I got a website. We're gonna look at a website, we're gonna look at a YouTube, we're gonna look at an Instagram. We're gonna get deep up in this thing, man, because they tripping out here. But first and foremost, of course, I gotta welcome you all properly. So thank you for being here on this Tuesday night. I mean, I ain't doing nothing else. I was gonna be in there chilling, so might as well come and talk to y'all, right? So everybody that's in here, make sure you go ahead and jump in that comment section and tell me, hey, because I want to make sure I acknowledge everybody who up in here, because I appreciate you being up in here. So make sure you jump in that comment and tell me, hey, what's up, Amina? How you doing? Make sure you hit that like button. YouTube shadow banning. So we working on breaking through this shadow banning. Shadow banning don't have to affect me if we all just come and watch the content. So, every day at 1, Tuesdays at 9 p.m., Saturdays at 3:30 p.m. So we getting it in. I want to make sure that I give a shout out to Pierre Cleveland for buying my books. I appreciate you, Pierre, for supporting On the Shoulders of Giants and buying. He brought a copy of each book. So thank you. You can go to my website, check that out. You can see the website scrolling at the bottom of the page. So thank you, Pierre, for supporting me. And I want to make sure I give a shout out to my members, all the people who joined this channel as a member. So shout out to Terrell, Ryan Riley, DSB, Abu Salam Omin, Who's Left Entertainment, Mama Deb, LB, Corey RT, Tisha, Patrick, Say Bills, and Professor Carl Tone Jones. I appreciate y'all for being members of this channel, and I can shout out my top commenters because they do a community spotlight on top commenters and stuff. So Terrell, Nemesis X, Ninja Girl, and Patrick, they are highlighting at the top commenters, and Anne-Marie Matumbo. And big shout out to Christine Williams for a lot of her comments and everything else. So that's how we're doing a little housekeeping, getting it in today. But we're about to get into it because Brianna Nicole is the young lady once again. She created a hair clip, a hair clip that's first of its kind, a magnetic hair clip. She displayed it all over social media, on her YouTube, on her website, Instagram, now in particular TikTok. And TikTok is where all the bullshit went down. So I'm gonna get this video uploaded, and then we're gonna start getting this thing playing, and then we're gonna get into it. But once again, thank y'all for being here. Amina, evening to you, thank you. And everybody, y'all go ahead, like I said, jump in the comment, let me know you're here. But hit that like button and let's get into it. So a big shout out to what they said, Rachel Reed TV. So big shout out to Rachel Reed TV for putting this together stuff. So it says woman who created magnetic hair clips for textured hair gets her invention stolen, also accused of bullying and sued. That's what we dealing with. I saw this. I was scrolling through TikTok and I saw this story. I think Isaac Hayes the third was talking about this. You're gonna see that clip that I came across in this as well. But yes, stole the young lady's invention. Goddamn colonizers, man. Colonize everything.
See, the left and right side separates and it connects like this. This is for like really thick hair.
I created magnetic claw clips because I had so many problems with store-bought clips. They are really hard to open, and they don't even open wide enough to actually hold my hair. Also just break really easily. I wanted to design a hair accessory that functions like a claw clip, but better. Magnetic claw clip comes in a vast range of sizes suited for different hair types, styles, and hair thickness. I created magnetic...
And Bree Romy Official is her TikTok and her Instagram. Bree Romy Official, what you saw on the screen, that's her TikTok and her Instagram.
Claw clips because I had so many problems with store-bought clips. They are really hard to open, and they don't even open wide enough to actually hold my hair. Also just break really easily. I wanted to design a hair accessory that functions like a claw clip, but better. That effectively holds hairstyles like locks and braids without causing too much tension, and can also hold straight and curly hair in cute updos. The magnetic claw clip comes in a vast range of sizes suited for different hair types, styles, and hair thickness.
Bree Romy, entrepreneur, created a hair clip that has unique styles and shapes, stars, bows. Really, really nice. And it connects with two magnets, and then it has teeth that can go through braids or locks and hold it together. She does this, she's starting to sell her product. And then there's another woman, Kristen Owen, that is selling the same product. She's white, and she's selling...
Okay, Kristen Owen is the name of the colonizer. Now we have the colonizer's name. Kristen Owen is the young lady who colonized the magnetic hair clip. Kristen Owen, remember that.
I guess, a knockoff version of what Bree's hair clip is.
Give him the kicker.
So Bree recognizes the fact that her shop is copying her style, and she makes a comment in a conversation to, I guess, Kristen Owen about using her product. And then another influencer, Keandra, publicly came out and defended her as well. So what happened was this girl, she filed a lawsuit against Bree,
The innovator.
and the activist, Keandra, that defended her, and a judge actually sided with her as a federal judge.
With the copier.
The copier.
White supremacy at its finest. White supremacy at its finest. The judge siding with the colonizers. You steal this young lady's thing and sue her for quote-unquote harassment. Y'all tripping. One time for my brother Wallace over on Instagram tuning in. I appreciate you, my brother.
I'm gonna go ahead and check out Joseph Ward. But here is the thing that people have been commenting about DEI, and because they said black people it's the myth that we've invented DEI, so that's why they think that they was going to punish us, right? This woman is going to break down to you on this channel what DEI is.
How Trump is banning DEI at universities except for Jews. The Trump administration's ban on DEI at universities has one big exception. Jewish students get special support. Jewish students get special support. Jewish students get special support. You know how people were excited when Donald Trump came in and he said he was ending DEI, he was ending censorship, freedom of speech was in, because the left calls everything hate speech and sexist and racist, and you're going to be free of all that. And we're going to get rid of DEI.
And that's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off, and I feel better now.
You want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring, and what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else, and there are things where you have to go by brain power, you have to go by psychological quality, and psychological quality is a very important element of it. These are various very powerful tests that we put to use, and they were terminated by Biden. And Biden went by a standard that's the exact opposite. So we don't know, but we do know that you had two planes at the same level. You had a helicopter and a plane. That shouldn't have happened. And we'll see. We're going to look into that, and we're going to see. But certainly for an air traffic controller, we want the brightest, the smartest, the sharpest. We want somebody that's psychologically superior.
But it turns out he just replaced it with his own DEI and his own hate speech laws and his own censorship, deporting college students for writing op-eds that are critical of Israel. And
Not even that critical, by the way. It wasn't even that crazy what the girl wrote.
No, it wasn't at all. How Trump is banning DEI at universities except for Jews. The Trump administration's ban on DEI at universities has one big exception. Jewish students get special support.
Diversity, equity in Israel.
I mean, I thought what is a Jewish DEI hire? Is that how White Mexico has Claudia Sheinbaum as the president? So here's Donald Trump. So remember when he tweeted this out on the 12th of October. So that was yesterday. Throughout most of our history, America's colleges and universities have been a great strategic asset of the United States. Tragically, however, does that include Trump University, I wonder? Tragically, however, much of higher education has lost its way and is now corrupting our youth and society with woke, socialist, and anti-American ideology that serves as justification for discriminatory practices by universities that are unconstitutional and unlawful, capital U. My administration is fixing this, and fast, with our great reform agenda. Well, whenever someone puts great, when a politician calls something great reform or the great reset, whenever it starts with the word great, it's pretty much a guarantee that it's only great like in the Bible. Like when they say the great flood, they don't mean good. They just
mean enormous.
They mean enormous. That's all. Yeah. So the great reform agenda in higher education, that's what Trump is ushering in. Our nation's great institutions will once again prioritize merit and hard work before group identity, resulting in tremendous new research and opportunities to benefit all Americans, and equality being honored. Equality being honored in American business, courts, and culture. So, here's a little bit more. To those universities that continue to illegally discriminate based on race or sex, we will continue our current efforts to swiftly and forcefully enforce federal law. But for those institutions that want to quickly return to the pursuit of truth and achievement, they are invited to enter into a forward-looking agreement with the federal government to help bring about the golden age of academic excellence in higher education. They will agree to follow federal law and protect the civil rights of all students, faculty, and employees on campuses. They will stop racist admission policies and put an end to unjust and illegal discrimination in faculty hiring. These institutions will commit to high-quality standards of an intellectually open campus environment, including the protection of free speech and debate. This is the same guy who... This is amazing how he did the exact opposite when it came to Jews and Israel. Isn't it amazing? The exact opposite. Everything he's calling out here, he's currently doing. Institutional neutrality, major steps towards affordability for students, and an end to the enlightenment and entanglement of foreign money in the finances of American universities. Americans deserve to be treated in accordance with their demonstrated achievements and potential. Upon regaining this fundamentally American value, our nation will be unstoppable. We will once again have universities that develop the talents of our amazing young people and lead lives of success and fulfillment, cultivate a love of country and a culture of achievement, and help make all Americans proud, safe, prosperous, and free. Wow. And speech will be free on campus, much in the way those added free features that come with your brand new $65,000 car. Glenn Greenwald says, Trump says that the changes he's forcing private American universities to adopt are designed to prioritize merit and hard work before group identity. Well, here is the new DEI programs he's forced on Brown University to adopt. See for yourself that this is consistent with his claim. Let's look. So this is from the administration. It says, these shall include actions to support a thriving Jewish community, research and education about Israel, a robust program in Judaic studies, through outreach to Jewish day school students to provide information about applying to Brown, resources for religiously observant Jews community members, renewed partnerships with Israel academics and national Jewish organizations, support for enhanced security at the Brown RSD Hillel, and a convening of alumni, students, and faculty to celebrate 130 years of Jewish life at Brown in the 2025-2026 academic year. Just substitute Black or Hispanic or anything, or Arab or Muslim for Jewish.
DEI has been in the news a lot lately. We've been talking about it, but you recently came across some information that a lot of people probably wouldn't expect from DEI. What did you learn?
All right, so, I kind of did it a little bit backwards. You and I had a long discussion about DEI, and my thinking is I want what I say to you to just come out of my own life experience and my own opinions. I don't want to parrot somebody else's. I think it's useful to just get that unvarnished opinion about this. And that's what I did. And then I went back and I said, okay, now I'm going to look up some stuff and see if my opinion really needs to be modified, if I have to change my views in any way. Because I think that's important. I would say for the most part, I haven't really fundamentally changed my views, but I wouldn't be talking to you again if what I found out didn't completely shock me. And I think it's kind of worthwhile to tell people what I found out, and I'm interested in what they think. I went into it thinking, okay, diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? It's not a welfare program. It's not a handout. That was my opinion. You know, it's not like, well, you're really not qualified for this job, but we're going to hire you anyway because something. Diversity.
Right.
It's not that. It's basically saying, you know what? Qualified people come in every shape, size, color, religion, gender, age, rich people, poor people. You can find them if you look. And truthfully, we all have our own biases, and we like to hire people from our tribe, people that we feel comfortable with. And you know what? We really need to open our eyes for a lot of reasons. First, because it's fair, and second, because there's immense talent out there if you just go and look for it. And what DEI is saying, go out and look for it. You don't have to hire unqualified people, you just have to hire different people. I mean, how many movies do we have to see, right, before we realize that, hey, black women can work as engineers at NASA, or people who are completely paralyzed except for their left foot can be incredible artists, or, you know, a million other things. Women can be surgeons. Can you imagine that?
Right.
So that's kind of what I think of as DEI, right? And it's been around for 60 years. It's not new, but suddenly, I don't know, in the last 5 years, it became a shorthand for hiring unqualified black people.
Yeah.
To jobs that should go to white people. You know, so I wanted to kind of get to the bottom of that and see kind of what I thought, what other people thought. Okay, so here's a little quiz. Who do you think benefits most from DEI programs? They did a survey. The Pew Research people, they're pretty good. They did a survey about 5 months ago to get people's opinions. And if you said black people, most people agree with that. You know, a lot of people don't have opinions, which is fair. They don't know enough, and that's fair. But the one thing that got a majority of votes is black women benefit and black men benefit. Do white women benefit? A lot of people don't know. If you had asked me, I would have said, well, I'm not really sure, but probably somewhat.
Right.
And that's what most, 30% of people say yes. Almost as many say they are hurt by it, which is interesting. But almost nobody thinks that white men are benefited.
Right.
14%. But a lot of people think that they're hurt by it. And that's kind of the general opinion. All right, so that's where we stand. Fortunately, the government actually kept statistics because this has been going on for 60 years. It's not like it happened yesterday. And you can look it up, except you can't because they took all that information off the web and it
not
vanished. Yeah, you can't find it anymore. But when there were people who were looking and they did find out, it's a quiz. It's a quiz for everybody out there. Who do you think benefits the most from DEI programs? Time's up. Black people? No. White women. Overwhelmingly. Now, there are a lot of reasons for that. And I'm not going to get into that now because that's a whole other discussion, but I will say that one of the reasons is that 50 years of affirmative action got a lot of women into the workplace where they were in a position to take advantage of a new push to say, hey, we need to look for qualified people. They were already in the workplace because of affirmative action. That was one of the reasons. But be that as it may. All right, so who's the second biggest beneficiary of DEI programs? Time's up. Black people?
You would think so. I mean, most people in America apparently think so.
Yeah, most people think so. No. The second biggest beneficiary of DEI programs is white men. And when I read that, I was completely shocked. I mean, aren't these the people who are complaining about DEI and saying that if it wasn't for them, these other people, that these qualified white guys would be in the workplace and they're losing their spots to DEI people, and isn't it terrible? How is it possible that white men are the second biggest beneficiaries? It just blew my mind.
Did you find out why that was?
Well, I mean, it's hard to kind of track down because I don't have access to the statistics anymore. And I would have done a much deeper dive into them. But the reality is that when you're talking about diversity, so many people think white and black. And that's diversity. But talent is everywhere. It's in all kinds of overlooked communities. And white men happen to belong to some of those communities. So if you look at who benefits, white women, white men, Hispanics, Asians, Native Americans, disabled people, and that's not just people in wheelchairs, it's neuroatypical people, people on the spectrum, people who, you know, are dyslexic, you know, have the Spilkus, you know, ADHD, followed by veterans, LGBTQ, and alphabet people like me, and at the very bottom, black people. White men, of course, are not a uniform group, as much as we think so. They are vets, they are disabled, they are LGBTQ, whatever. They are poor, and in all those categories of diverse talent benefit from DEI programs, and they're all majority white.
Right.
So of course white people are going to benefit more from DEI programs, and they're also going to be hurt the most by taking them away.
Well, joining us for our weekly segment, Bottom Line, is Algeminer CEO David.
You know, before I go on, this stuff was revealed to me by the Most High God. One time, I asked the question. I said, "Lord, you know about this program," and right before this woman mentioned it, he said, he basically let me know through the Holy Spirit, like white men can come back and benefit from this program too. And at the time, I'm like, how is that happening? I didn't even know about this until she revealed it. Veteran, LGBTQ, I knew about that. And the other one, disabled. But they used it to close it out. But you got these people running around the internet, sitting up there stating that black people, they're getting favored. Affirmative action didn't benefit black people. This is what they keep coming at us with this stuff. This is what the narrative was. This is what your Charlie Kirk and all these other individuals, they did not do no research. Like this woman. How they know that? The Nick Fuentes, you name it, Matt Walsh, all these people would, if they would have did some digging, you heard what she said, who would benefit from. And you see in the previous video, in the one video, is that in the video that it revealed that the woman took the other woman's intervention. This is the reason why we complain. And imagine us being the backlog of all of this. That everybody, there's black privilege. How is black privilege on these programs when it didn't benefit the programs? Just like all the government services, like they kept on saying black people are on welfare. So, some people were in the narrative, and it got so blockative that they focus on immigrants and blacks and forget that there's a whole poor section of white people across this country, all in the Appalachians and small towns, and some in the inner city. But you see how they play this narrative? And you got these white males running around on these social. You guys want to have debates with this stuff. Why you want to have a debate when you could have did the research like this woman, and she would prove it to you. Oh, these immigrants have all this. They were just giving stuff away. They're giving something to this, like you said, LGBTQ, but white LGBTQ. White LGBTQ took, and even though LGBTQ can be anybody, Native Americans, Hispanic, blacks, anything, who's the head of it? White LGBTQ. White men, white women. They use black people to further their cause. They came on the back. That's why black people want to delineate from even a group such as that, along with these other groups. Because it's what they do. And the first thing they do, they always tack the bottom is the black Americans. And none of the things that they fought and bled and got unalive for, they benefit everybody else. Do you see why when they come out, ask us to go out there and protest, black people don't want to protest? What's the sense of them protesting? Black men and black women. You took the thing and you stabbed them in the back. And then you have white males, like I said, the ones that believe in the philosophy of Charlie Kirk, and you got some black conservative saying the same thing, and they don't even do the research. So, is to keep a bumper class, keep the black men and black women at a lower bumper class, and then people conspire against that, all the way up to the government. Ain't that something? Truth is coming out. But you see how come from racism led up to this video. United States. But is in other phases. Every time the same demographic of people they had to vent on it. That's why when you invent something, you have to put a patent on it. You create a song, you got to put a patent on it. Because if you're a black person, they'll take it, they'll copy you. And gain riches and glory. While you suffer and it's gone throughout history. That's why black people mention this so much. Because they never get back the credit that they do. Because they want to keep pushing the narrative that these are the Negroes that haven't moved up mentally since slavery. That's what the indirect racist people do. And it's what direct racist people do and indirect racist people do. That's why black people don't trust nobody. Some black people do not trust people because of that. All right, then. There's your answer. This is why we have race in this country. Now you understand the mindset of it. Why do we mention? Why we talk about it? Because imagine you are one of the groups of people at the bottom pole that they keep reflecting. And the media plays a big part of it. That keeps the image to people. The media keeps making the black American the devil. But the black American is the one that have the image of Christ. They don't want to picture that. They don't want to put it in the movies. They don't want to acknowledge anything. As long as you stay in the background until we call for you to entertain us. And when black folks say, I'm not going to entertain you no more, that's when you become everything else up under the sun. That's the truth. Share, like, and subscribe next time. Hope to see you on the next video. Take care.